Ray from Stampin.com, and today I'm going to be using some products out of our mini catalog that goes until the end of December. And it is part of our Peaceful Place suite, which you can find on page 36, 37, and 38. So there is some really pretty products. You can buy them as a bundle with just the stamp set and the dies. You can also get the Peaceful Place Suite Collection, which is kind of a neat way to get a lot of products that coordinate. It gives you everything that you see on page 37. So you would have the stamp set, the dies, this velvet sheets, which are snowy white. You get the embossing folder, some shimmer sequins, the organdy ribbon that's glittered, and then this beautiful paper. So today I'm going to be highlighting some cards, 3 different ones, based on this paper. And what's great about it is it uses mainly smoky slate, basic gray, black, and a silver palette for their colors. And you can use them just as is, or you can actually color them, which is what I'm going to be doing today. So I got these ideas from a post that Stampin Up did, and I just kind of tweaked them a little bit. So the first card I'm going to show you is these. They are super simple cards that I'm going to be showing you today. So this one here uses the Highland Heather cardstock, and I decided to use this checkered paper with it. So there's a few different things that we're going to do. We're going to start with our blending brushes, which I use on every card that I'm going to show you today, with our Highland Heather ink pad, okay? When you pick up color, you just kind of go in a circular motion. I tend to try and do a couple dabs on there. And then we're just going to go into circles. So you can either put your finger on top to give it a little bit more pressure, or sometimes I just hold it side by side like this to kind of give it some pressure. So you just want to color that. I hope you can see that on the video where it's a little bit different. So you got kind of just a purple hue to it versus the gray part here. So we're going to continue to do the rest. And it's okay if you get spots that are a little bit darker than others, because there is no perfect way to color this, but I just want a little bit of a purpley tone. Now, with our Stampin Blends, you can actually see that I've started doing some of it, but we did kind of a checkered pattern just to go along with it. So I used my light Highland Heather, and you can use a ruler for this. You can do it freehand. So on the actual card, I did it freehand, which is kind of a neat process. It goes a lot quicker, obviously, but if you're more of a perfectionist, which I kind of felt like I wanted to be on this card, you can use a ruler, or you can just use the side of a thick cardstock. So that's what I did. What I did is I started off the paper and then went onto the paper and stopped. The reason being that you're going to get this kind of like little dot at the edge if you don't do it this way. So we're just going to, oops, that moved on me. Apply a little bit of pressure. You know what? I'm going to do it the other way. That's probably a better way. Okay, so you can see I did all the lines that way, and then I just have these two, or this one, to do. This paper's flinging everywhere. And right there. And it just adds a little bit of something to your cardstock. So these are really fun designer papers. They're double-sided, and you can see they have some really pretty designs. I'll show you some of the other designs on the other cards too. All right, so fun how you can just change it up a little bit. I'm going to take my card that I've already pre-cut. So this is 5.5 by 8.5. And I generally use my bone folder. Just find your edging. If you have nails, it's kind of easy to just press it against your nails to make sure it's straight. And we're going to make that nice crease. Okay, so that's gonna go on here. Now with this suite, so it has the stamp set, and it has these really cool dies. And I'm using 2 of them. So I've already put some washi tape on them. You can use pressure, or you can just do it freehand, but I kind of like using the washi tape just because it keeps it into place before I put it into my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I want it near the top, so I cut this paper to be 3 by 5 1/4, and the 5 1/4 is just going to match the length of this. And what's cool about these dies is you can just do this, which will go with this stamp here. So you can stamp it and then use your die, and it'll cut it out just perfectly, and it'll actually cut a little hole here. Or you can do it blank like I have here on a cardstock and use this inner piece. So we're just going to line that up right about there. And then I'm just going to run that through my cut and emboss. I'll be right back. All right, so I am back, and look at how cool this is. So you have all this piece comes totally off, and then you have this piece here that we're just going to take these tiny little pieces out, and look at how cool that looks together. So just on there. I actually tested it because you can actually just use this piece to cut out a piece of white cardstock and then put it behind. So if you like that look better, you can do it that way, but I just liked it straight on. We're going to use the same ink pad with the stamp. And this one I used Your Kindness Makes the World a More Beautiful Place to Be. So what's cool about this stamp set is you can make it very Christmassy, or you can make it just everyday type cards. All right, so we're just going to ink that up. And I'm just gonna try it on my scrap paper first to see how straight it is. I think that's pretty good. And stamp it down here. There we go. So you can use a darker color if you want. I actually like the color just as is like that. So I'm just using my glue here. And we're going to adhere that straight to the card. And what's great about this liquid glue is that it gives you a little bit of time to move that paper around to make sure that you're straight. All right, now that I have that done, I'm going to use these dimensionals and pop some on here. I think dimensionals is the tool that I use the absolute most in my stamping. So if you don't have any of these for your stamping, you really do need them. It just makes the card just more fun when it has something popped up. I think that's probably about right. And we're going to peel those backings off. The next step that I'm going to show you is I wanted to make a moon actually for this, but then it kind of ended up looking more like a planet. So I don't know. I think I should name my planet, but I didn't. But it looks super fun to do. All right, about there. Okay, so let's do what I call my planet. So for this, I ended up using shimmery white cardstock, which I use with my Stampin' Blends the most. I don't know if you can see the shimmer on here, but it is beautiful. And it has kind of a really nice smooth texture. So this came from, it's about a 1.5 inch circle, and it came from our Layering Circles dies. I used 3 different colors. So we have the dark Highland Heather, the light Blackberry Bliss, and then the dark Blackberry Bliss. So I'm just going to start with the dark one first. And don't worry about how perfect you are on this. Just start coloring. So you just want to cover, I like to do about, I don't know, 2/3 of it in the dark. Like that. And then go with your light. And just kind of go in a circular motion just to blend that darker color out. Okay. And then the dark Highland Heather is your lightest color, and it's just gonna go about there. The cool thing about the blends is as it dries, it tends to blend better. So sometimes it doesn't look quite nice just when it's wet, but it will start to dry and the colors will go together. You can actually go back in with the Highland Heather if you find, so it has 2 tips. I'm liking the brush tip for this. And you can just bring out some more color. Okay, so now this next step, oops, I'm going to use my color lifter. So with your color lifter, it's for like mistakes. If you actually go outside the lines, you can take this. It's an alcohol-based marker, so you can take it, it's clear, and take some of that color off that's not meant to be there. But you can also go in and it'll make those kind of lighter dots everywhere. So that's what I did with this. You can see as it dries, it has some more like specks. You can go back in after if you find there's not enough. And next I use my Wink of Stella. Love, love, love my Wink of Stella. You can actually press on the barrel, get the color or the shimmer inside of here. But what I want, because I want a little bit more control on this, I'm actually gonna press my barrel, that was a lot, and get a big blob right here. So what I wanna do with this part is have some specks onto my little planet. And you can have it more in some spots versus others. Okay, that's about good, I think. Maybe just a little bit there. And if you find you need a little bit, you can actually press onto it. But that's good. And again, it'll dry. You'll see how it dries a little bit better. It does take a little bit. So what I did for this next step is I just took like a paper towel and I'm just gonna dab it a little bit. All right, so with your paper towel, we're just going to press it down. And the other thing I like to do is just go over my workspace and just take away some of that wet Wink of Stella so that when I'm doing the next step, I don't have Wink of Stella everywhere. So I'm gonna pull this back in and again, use some dimensionals. I don't know, this is my purple planet. I'm sure people can come up with better planet names, but I really like how it turned out. Okay, so can you see that? Isn't that cool? And we're gonna put that about here. There. Okay, so again, this card is super fast, super easy to do, and it really is beautiful using that designer paper. So let's get on to the next card. All right, let's start on to card 2. So for this one, I only have 2 pieces of paper. So our cardstock cut 5.5 by 8.5, and then we're just going to fold and use the bone folder. And for those of you who still have Christmas cards to do, these are really awesome to do because they're so simple. Okay, so just these 2 pieces of paper make a beautiful, beautiful card. And Bermuda Bay is kind of a non-traditional Christmas card, but I love it. So we're gonna use the Coastal Cabana. These 2 colors go so nicely together. So Coastal Cabana with a blending brush. Now with the blending brushes, they come as a pack of 3. If you want to clean them off, just go on your scrap paper and you can actually take off most of that color and use it in a different ink pad. I have enough blending brushes where like I'll use this for all my greens, and then I have one for like reds and pinks and then blues. So I don't need one for every color that I have, just for kind of that color family. So start off your paper, nice circles. And it literally takes 1 minute to have that beautiful accent color. Okay. Next, I'm going to use the greeting, and for this one, I used this greeting here. So may you enjoy the peace of this beautiful season. And I decided to use the darker, so the Bermuda Bay. Let's see, so it goes this way. And I always, when I put them on my blocks, I always test them on my scrap paper first, just to make sure that they are straight. So can you see that? That's pretty straight. Just helps me a little bit. We're gonna have that right about there. Press it, don't rock your stamp, and then back up, okay? We're going to use that multi-liquid glue again, and you can use either side. This one's actually getting empty. Oh yeah, let me show you. So this is the other side to this this paper, sorry, this designer paper, but look at how beautiful the silver trees are. So gorgeous. Okay, so I'm gonna use the bigger side, and you can just bring it all around. Between this and my Stampin' Seal, that's kind of my go-to adhesives, and of course my dimensionals. But this one here, what I like is that it just gives me a bit of time to move that cardstock or that paper around so that I make sure it's nice and straight. That's about good. Give it nice firm pressure. And look at that, in like literally 30 seconds, you have something that is really cute. All right, so let's get on to our third card of this video series. It is a really simple card too, and it just has some sweet little touches that make it kind of pop. So for this card, first I was trying to figure out whether I would use the Blushing Bride or the Petal Pink. So you can see here the difference between the two colors. Originally I had picked this one, but I actually really like the Blushing Bride better. So we're gonna start with that. Just going to fold it. And I cut out with my layering circles a 3-inch circle. So this one here, you can see the difference in the designer paper, and we're gonna use this side with the Blushing Bride ink pad. And again, one of our blending brushes. So for this, I just want part of the paper. Okay, so it's going to go like this, and then the trees will go on it. So I just want just a tiny little bit of the color. There you go. All right. I really love quick and easy cards. The next paper that I used out of the designer paper is this one here. So you can see these beautiful snowflakes. This is the other side. So we use this side on one of the first cards, I guess. So you can see I cut out these trees. So the trees come from these 3 little dies that are in the die set. And I cut 2 of the big ones, 2 of the mediums, and then just 1 of the smalls. So things tend to look better in odd numbers. So I just did 5 trees. So we can leave them like that, and it would actually still look really pretty with the gray. But in the card that Stampin' Up shared, they actually used a bit of color to change up these trees. So Old Olive cards, or Old Olive ink with one of our blending brushes. And I'm just going to use a little piece of cardstock here. I got my fingers really inky the first time I did this. So just pick up some of that color. And you are literally changing the color of that paper, but the snowflakes actually still show up, which is kind of fun. So let's look at that versus, I might be able to show you in my hand. So you can see this one's not colored and this one is colored. Just adds a little bit of something different to it. Okay, so let's do that again. And the other side. On the Stampin' Up cards or idea, they actually colored the paper first and then cut it out. You can do it that way too. I just decided to do it this way. I'm gonna get ink again. I hope you like these ideas. They're just quick, easy Christmas cards or everyday cards that you can do. They're easily duplicatable, which is great. All right, so there's all my trees. And the last part of this, honestly, is just gluing and then putting a greeting. So simple. I find the cards that I tend to do are a little bit more complicated, more steps. They take a lot longer, but it's kind of fulfilling, especially when it's time to make a lot of cards, to be able to do something that is quick, but yet still adds a pop. Okay, so I'm actually going to change sides for the trees and use the little tip. You don't need a lot to keep it in its place. You don't want it to ooze out of the sides, so you just got to be careful. So we're going to put that one about here. And put the bigger two first. There we go. And that one just go down a little bit. Oops. Yeah, and be patient because it does take a little bit for it to dry. We're going to do one of the mediums now. Put it here. And then the small one, when it's still a little bit wet, you can tuck things underneath. I just want this one tucked under the medium a little bit. So we're going to take it, tuck it under, and press down. Maybe move it a little bit. There we go. And then just the last tree. So for the greeting, I'm using gray granite, which is one of the colors in our designer paper. So it goes really nicely. We know it's going to go nice. And gray and Blushing Bride actually go really nicely together, which is really fun to do. Okay, so we're going to use the gray granite. I don't know how to say it. Granite. And test it. I think that's good. So I'm just using the Wishing You the Best for this one. Now I'm scared. There. All right, so there it is, your 3 simple cards. This is our third one. I'll show you all of them together, just 1 second. So here's the 3 cards that I made during this video. So this one obviously is the one that took a little bit longer, a little bit more products, but the other ones are very, very simple, duplicatable cards, and I hope you enjoyed watching this and seeing this beautiful designer paper that we have. So have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and we will see you soon. Bye.